The Bold and the Beautiful BNB spoilers for Friday, September 26 state that Taylor Hayes, Rebecca Budig, will be shocked by Deacon Sharp's, Sean Cannon, desire for therapy, while Electra Forrester, Lania Grace, will have to decide whether to end their relationship. At the Forrester guest house, Electra is having a hard time handling the awful news that Will Spencer, Crew Morrow, has thrown at her. After admitting that Luna Nozawa, played by Lisa Yamada, is still alive and that she chased him in bed, Will confessed about Luna's pregnancy test. Electra was even more horrified to find out that Luna was carrying Will's child. Will might not have been able to repair the damage with Electra at this point because of the pregnancy developments. Electra may hold Will responsible for making Luna pregnant, as she has been suspecting him of having an affair with Luna. Electra may not be as sure today, despite Will's efforts to convince her that they can still have a future together. Will this continuous drama drive Electra and Will to break up? It seems likely that Electra will do just that when she leaves the house or kicks Will out, leaving him inconsolable. BNB spoilers indicate that Taylor's office will be visited by Brooke Logan, Catherine Kelly Lang. It seems that Brooke will want to check in on Taylor following her split from Ridge Forrester, Torsten K. Brooke will encourage Taylor by telling her that things can change quickly, even though she may respond that she's fine with being single for the time being. Taylor could say she isn't looking for Mr. Right to come into her life, but that's still a possibility. After his confrontation with Sheila Sharp, Kimberlyn Brown, Deacon will require urgent counseling. After that, Deacon will go to Taylor's office and beg for therapy, surprising her. Although Taylor will convince Deacon that he should visit another counselor, Deacon will genuinely want Taylor to be the one to listen and offer guidance. Watch how their connection develops, since the Bold and the Beautiful spoilers indicate that Taylor may cave in and provide Deacon with the necessary counseling. At the Forrester guest house, Electra's trembling hands clutched the edges of the sofa cushion as though it were her lifeline. Her heart pounding like a drum in her chest, the words Will had spoken reverberating endlessly in her mind. Luna alive, Luna pregnant, Luna carrying the child that should have never existed. Each revelation crashing into her like tidal waves, tearing apart the fragile trust she had fought to build with him. And Will, pacing the floor with desperation etched across his young face, tried in vain to explain that he had been manipulated, cornered, that the night with Luna was never about love or betrayal but about chaos and deception, yet his words fell heavy and hollow against Electra's ears because she could only see the image of Luna's sly smile. Her hand patting that belly that now represented an unshakable bond between Will and another woman. Tears burned in Electra's eyes as she thought of every dream she had dared to imagine with Will. Marriage, a family, a future where she was enough. And now, shattered glass seemed less broken than her own heart, and though he begged her to believe in him, her instincts screamed to flee, to sever ties before Luna's shadow swallowed her whole. But as she rose to leave, Will dropped to his knees before her, voice cracking with raw emotion, swearing that his love for her eclipsed any mistake, any manipulation, and that he would spend his life proving that truth. Yet Electra's resolve hardened because sometimes love was not enough to erase the consequences of betrayal, and she whispered goodbye through clenched teeth, her footsteps echoing like thunder as she left him standing in ruins of what they had once been. Meanwhile, across town in Taylor Hayes' office, the sterile calm of books and framed diplomas was disrupted by Brooke Logan's warm presence. Her gentle voice encouraging Taylor to see that heartbreak could be temporary, that new chapters were waiting to be written. And though Taylor insisted, she was at peace with solitude. Her eyes betrayed a flicker of loneliness, a yearning she could not admit, and it was at that moment that Deacon Sharp stormed in, battle-worn from his latest confrontation with Sheila. His soul aching for clarity, and his plea, urgent, unfiltered, almost childlike in its sincerity, shocked Taylor to her core. He wanted her help, her counsel, her insight, not just as a therapist but as a person who could understand his fractured spirit. Taylor tried to push him toward another professional, reminding him of ethical boundaries, but Deacon's gaze, haunted yet hopeful, held hers with such intensity that she felt her own resolve begin to bend, and as he spoke of regret, redemption, and the desperate need to break free from the toxic grip Sheila held over his life, Taylor realized this was more than a man seeking therapy. It was a man fighting for his soul, and against her better judgment. She agreed to listen, to guide, perhaps to heal. Little did either of them know their sessions would not only reshape Deacon's path but would forge an unexpected connection between two broken hearts, setting into motion a ripple effect that would collide with Will and Electra's shattered romance, Luna's dangerous delusions of family, and the volatile storm brewing in Bill and Katie's lives, all converging toward a reckoning that no one on this canvas could yet see, but all would eventually feel. In the quiet after Brooke's departure, Taylor sat across from Deacon in her office, the air thick with unspoken history and the faint hum of the ticking clock on the wall, each second punctuating the gravity of the moment. Deacon leaned forward, elbows on his knees, eyes darting restlessly as though every shadow in the room carried Sheila's laughter, and when he finally spoke, the words tumbled out like a dam breaking. How he had built a life from the ashes of mistakes. How he had fought to carve out dignity for himself and his daughter. How every time he thought he was free, Sheila's pull dragged him back into darkness, her hold like chains he couldn't quite sever. Taylor listened intently, her clinical instincts whispering caution, but her empathetic heart compelling her to hear the man behind the flaws, the father who yearned for redemption. And as Deacon's voice cracked when he admitted he feared becoming a man his daughter couldn't be proud of, something in Taylor softened. Her own memories of failures and missed chances rising to the surface, reminding her of the fragility of second chances and the resilience required to fight for them. She told him gently that healing wouldn't come in a single session, that therapy was a journey, a mirror held up to one's truest self, and though Deacon chuckled bitterly that mirrors only showed him a man who had loved the wrong women, betrayed the right people, and still managed to sabotage happiness, Taylor countered with the firm conviction of someone who had clawed her way out of despair herself. "You're here, Deacon. That means you haven't given up. That means there's hope." Her words hung in the air, more powerful than either of them expected, and Deacon, for once, allowed the silence to stretch without filling it with bravado. Instead, he let himself feel the weight of being understood, of not being judged entirely by his sins, and in that silence, an unspoken bond flickered between them. Fragile, dangerous, yet undeniable. What began as counseling edged toward connection, the kind of connection that could scandalize their families and unsettle their enemies, for in each other they found not just comfort but reflection, two scarred souls daring to believe they could be whole again. And though Taylor warned herself to maintain boundaries, she couldn't ignore the way Deacon's eyes lingered on her with a vulnerability that was rare, nor could Deacon deny the spark of gratitude that threatened to grow into something deeper, something forbidden. Outside that office, life spun on. Electra wandering the city streets torn between heartbreak and anger, Will drowning in guilt and longing, Luna plotting her delusional happily ever after. But in that quiet space, something dangerous and beautiful began to take root, and it would change everything once the truth of their growing closeness inevitably collided with the already fragile alliances of the Forresters, Logans and Spencers.